All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just as I'm starting my broadcast, my 4-year-old is waking up crying in the other room. What the hell? Uh, all right. Oh, that's the wrong. I'm in the wrong profile for my chat, so I'm streaming, but I can't see if anyone's watching. Hold on a minute. Eli, what's up, Eli? Um, there we go. 4-year-old of power. Absolutely. That's James, man. All right, let's check out the NQ. Our futures. We are up today and yesterday and the day before. So, was that the real follow through day? Will the real follow through day please stand up? Maybe that was it. Maybe it wasn't it. We don't know. Yesterday seemed to be a good day though. Lots of things closed up yesterday. We talked about stocks and stuff, and some of those did things. So that was good. What's the one I'm thinking about? It's the one I've been liking for like the past week and a half. My mind's not working yet. Anyway, that one was up pretty good. Let's go to investors.com. Their brain's been working for a while. Futures rally. Stock futures rally accelerates. Tesla gets a number 2 shareholder. Oh, that's interesting. Europe is up today. There you go. It's like stock futures are off to a start. Oh, okay. Nvidia stock climbed as a flurry of announcements at the CES show. Gosh, CES? I didn't even know about it. I used to go to CES, and now I don't know about it anymore. How things change. Larry Ellison doubled his stake in the company in Tesla. So Larry Ellison now number 2 shareholder. Because I think he was a recent board addition, isn't he? So as he realized the company's not full of crap, he doubles his stake. Makes a lot of sense to me. So Tesla looks like it's doing pretty good. Tesla had a good day yesterday. Um, they mentioned Twilio looking at a new high. Right, look at yesterday. Very good volume. There was some selling yesterday a little bit, but from what I saw yesterday, the selling in the stock I can't remember, but want to mention wasn't very bad at all. We have UNP surged higher after announcing a new chief operating officer, Carnival Cruise Lines. Boeing was a little higher. Boeing hasn't really broken down that much during the bear market. Caterpillar up a little bit. AMD, Monster, and Illumina. I was looking at NetEase yesterday a little bit. We've been talking about NetEase for a couple of weeks now. Hasn't really ever since. So this is the weekly on NetEase. Broke that about 4 weeks ago, that little shelf of a high. Since then, if you notice, we poked up, we came down, maybe made a slightly new low, but ever so slightly. And then now we're kind of poking back up. So NetEase looking interesting. Square. I'm looking at Square, thinking to myself, that's some good volume. That's some good moves in Square. We're starting to poke above this falling wedge. I'm starting to really like Square. Um, Yeah, Eli, I didn't mention this to you in Slack or anything, but the options tool stopped working from the TD Ameritrade site again. So I went back to my spreadsheet, and actually this has very good getting back even to 80, but going to 100 is really, really good. So this has a good potential for one of my core strategies, which hasn't worked in a long time. I may buy Square depending on how the market behaves today, to be honest with you. So Tesla's up 2.6 in pre-market trade according to IBD. So that'll put them higher. That's all I'm going to do with that. And shutdowns day 17 presidential blitz is the headline in IBD. Chip stocks up despite Samsung. It looks like AMD has a 97% relative strength rating. Oh, that's because, is that calendar year or rolling year? I'm not quite sure about that. But sorry, Justin, back to your question. It is safe to put on positions after a follow through day. Now, we have seen a follow through day here and a follow through day here that didn't work. And now we have a third follow through day. So, trading is always a little bit of a gamble when you're in especially when you're in turnaround situations. So these are two turnaround situations that didn't work. There wasn't too much to buy there. This turnaround situation, there didn't seem like a lot of setups to buy either, but one or two worked. INSG worked, which had a pretty good day yesterday, and I can't think of a second one, but I'm sure there was a second one. Gosh, what's that stock? I still can't think of it. I think it starts with a T. Why do I think it starts with a T? All right, let's look at some pre-market movers. I got 2 minutes till the market opens. We were talking about that stock for the past couple of days. Cup with handle. Broke out yesterday. Said it was still within a buy range. Just can't remember the ticker. Anyone? No one. There's only 4 people here, so. So Build-A-Bear, apparently. A lot of people building 31% more bears because it's up 31% after dropping, looks like 80%. AXSM. That's a big pop yesterday. It looks like it's up another 20% to 834 today, so just below yesterday's high. No, we are not, Justin. No, we are not. Yesterday we discussed, or 2 days ago was a follow-through day. We found that out yesterday because we weren't here at the end of the day on Friday. But yeah, so Friday was a follow-through day. So this day right there was a follow-through day. A follow-through day gives you the go-ahead to buy setups and stocks again. And so that was your follow-through day. So not every follow-through day works. Not every follow-through day works, but no market uptrend has started without a follow-through day. So doesn't mean you go all in immediately, but it does mean if you see a setup that you like, you don't have to be as timid in buying it because the odds are more in your favor of it going up. I read an article that the typical bear market lasts 9 months. Team is the symbol I was looking at. You are correct. The typical bear market lasts 9 months. Come on. The typical bear market lasts 9 months, but we've seen bear markets as short as 3 months, and it looks like we just had a 3-month bear market. Whether we roll back into the bear market is a different issue, or back into the correction. So I prescribe to the investors.com IBD way of doing things. You don't necessarily always think in terms of bull or bear. It's not that black and white. You end up with market in correction, market under pressure, or market in an uptrend. Market in an uptrend is fairly self-explanatory. As long as you have a follow-through day, you have a market in an uptrend. If you have a certain amount of distribution days within a certain period of time, you can go into market under pressure, and then if that if you exceed a threshold, or there'd be like 8 or 9 distribution days on a certain index, you end up with market in correction. So right now we're in an uptrend. If we end up going into a correction again, they may still call it a bear market or whatnot. But as of right now, we're in an uptrend and things are looking okay for that. And that's kind of how I view things. So I got Goose up here, VMware, INSG, Team up 1.7. There's Team up on the screen currently. Twitter, AMED, Lilly, NetEase, Amarin, and Illumina, which is not one of my lists, but way down in the red here today. We've had a good run up the past couple of days. I would be expecting a pullback at some point. You don't have to have a pullback, but it would seem a little bit warranted. Although the news that came out on this day with the jobs and China saying they're going to boost their economy is all good things. The market was probably more scared about China. I think they liked what they heard from the Fed, and they got the China news. They got like 3 or 4 things they wanted. So I think that's probably why we had the follow through day and was risk back on essentially. Where's my Square? Up 4% again today. Square's looking really good here, guys. Leading the market today on my list, number 3. Really liking Square. That's going to put a damper on my thing. I'll be back. I have no water. All right, so I'm back. Market's rallying. Square's looking good here. Let's go to Square. Update my stuff. Of course, it's up a bunch. They just murdered my thing. Should have bought yesterday. Always a little bit timid coming into these markets sometimes. I gotta take my Square position before it gets away from me. 1.34%. We're having lots of green days here. One thing I did want to do is see if this is any different from any of the other rallies that we've had. Excuse me. What was I gonna do here? That's not right. Okay. Harry Munkin have how to rotate credentials. Sounds like a fun conversation. All right, so we ended up with. Okay, that was Christmas Eve. What are you doing up here? Tilray up 5%. Oh, there you go. That's good. Why? Huya. Huya was interesting. Look at Huya. Huya's looking really nice down here. I didn't put together a Huya thing. I was going to think about Huya as well. It had a beautiful rally. Looks like it came all the way back. Now, let me do one for Huya. Sorry, guys. I'm doing stuff for me right now. Yeah, if we're back in a bull market, if we're going to, I mean, we're having some really good rallies in some of these names, seeing a few things break out. Team broke out right there, so a cup with handle breakout. We had, actually, let's see what Tesla looks like. It looks okay. So, in a lot of quality stocks, it seems like we're doing okay. Back to some, what looks like some normalized levels. Still lower. We're not obviously in new highs, but we're doing better. Unless today's going to be a gappy toppy day. That's a big gap in Amazon for a Monday. That's a little bit scary. Today's Tuesday, not Monday. Today's Tuesday. Wow. Oh, is that when their IPO expires? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they'll sell it off 20 to 75. They've seen 300 evaporate in front of their eyes. I'm not sure how they'll respond to that. Well, I guess it depends on their total float and how many average shares they trade per day. So they trade about 2 million shares a day on average, but recently they've traded 1.5. So that'll free up 60 million shares. I don't know, I guess it depends how much they need the capital, want the capital, have other opportunities. Maybe they'll just cash it out immediately. That can have an effect depending on the stock. Maybe they actually like it and they're going to hold on to it. It's hard to tell. It's like any other whale or institution. You don't quite know what they're going to do because they always have the opportunity to sell. But yeah, that's something I didn't know, so thank you for that. I'm not quite sure. You have to wait and see. Maybe just take a patient approach, give it a week or so, see if there's downward pressure after that. Then you know that they're liquidating. All right, let's go down the list. We got Emmys. I'm taking Emmys off of here, man. This thing is always up here, never does anything. Bye bye. Huya, I think Huya is an interesting proposition. A new higher low. Now we have a little bit of a breakout today. Elevated volume sense right there. Now that could stop at any time, so maybe it's best to wait for another little base to form and see how it behaves. But Huya with the high of 50, currently at 20. Not bad. So if China can get going, that would be good. Looks like things have already moved a little bit. Chesapeake Energy, also another one that's just floundering around. Okay. CyberArk, one of the leaders currently in the market, above the 200-day moving average, above the 50-day. Looks like it's trying to get above a little trend line right there. and it has a preliminary entry point up here at about $80. So Race, haven't seen Race in a long time. What are you doing? Looks like Ferrari is not a tremendous amount of volume, but it is kind of moving up a little bit. Definitely moving past this trend line that I have drawn in such a weird place. There we go. So there's your trend line. It's passing that trend line. Whether that means anything or not is a different issue. Volume isn't very heavy down here. There is some nice green candles, but nothing really buyable yet. YY, one of my favorite stocks in the market. This is what I hope Square's going to do. This is one of the stocks that proved my model, and back here when I actually bought it right there on that particular setup, because I wasn't doing my setup back there, but YY proving a model right there. Not looking too bad here. Looks like a little bit of a turnaround play with the market. Maybe it'll get going again. I know the fundamentals are a little different these days on YY than even it was last year, so have to do some fundamental lookup if you're interested in that. Goose. Goose is an interesting proposition, although I don't like it technically. It's one of those apparel plays that can move and run. Doesn't have to, but it can. But the fact it's made a sequence of lower lows and higher highs, a little bit scary. But that means it can make the trek back up. So make a risk-adjusted approach to Goose if you want to get in, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. TTWO, THRM, not super enthused with either one of those. This one coming back to a prior low could be interesting right about here. Again, it's all predicated, we have a follow-through day. Do you go with it? Things are looking okay, so I think you go with it personally. I'm moving back more to a risk-on approach. Baba and Tencent. So there's the trend line I've had on Baba. Volume declining, you can see on my bottom left chart there. And it's doing okay. It's not breaking any levels yet. You want to see it break some levels. Get bullish before you get bullish. TCEHY, not looking bad. We've kind of had this in a bit of a rising wedge. There's the ultimate high here recently, and I would probably like that to be broken. It looks like it's curling up to do so. If you want to take some kind of an entry position, that's up to you. Your risk to the downside here, about 7%, a little bit deep. China looks like maybe it'll get going again with the China stimulus. That's got to be a good thing. I mean, if China's going to stimulate their economy, it's got to affect all these. Let's see. I want to read about this stimulus, actually. Okay, China needs a little more aggressive easing than what the government has done so far to stimulate its slowing economy. Her comments came after the Chinese central bank announced last Friday it will cut the amount of reserves required to hold by 1 percentage points this month. China made several moves to stimulate its growing economy, but the measures are not enough yet. This is what some analyst is saying. Although she's probably just fudding everyone so JP Morgan can buy more stuff. Honestly, she's an analyst. Don't trust her. Anyone that puts out anything on terms of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, any of the big institutions, even some of the things you haven't heard of, don't trust them. And she says, I do think China's economy warrants a little more aggressive easing than the government's come through so far. Okay, but what is it? The targeted medium-term lending facility to encourage commercial banks to give out more loans to smaller firms. The government has also said it would step up other policy support such as infrastructure and tax cuts. Those announcements came as more signs pointed to slowing momentum in China. The country also faces mounting pressure from additional tariffs with the U.S. No one should be expecting a rapid improvement in the economy. downward pressures the economy is facing, expecting stimulus only to arrest the slowdown. Hold on a second. All right, so looks like China's taken a few steps. Looks like what could be a few good ones. I'm trying to find a better link for some more information. I should have looked at that the other day. Trying to keep short-term borrowing rates steady after Fed hike. I don't know why I'm laughing at this, but look at this picture they chose to put here. Look at how many scooters they have in China. And that guy is carrying apparently a big screen. I don't know why that makes me laugh, just makes me laugh. You do not see this in America. You do not see 75 scooters lined up. There's not one car in sight. That's hilarious. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it's funny to me. That's pretty good. Sorry, I'm scanning this article trying to see if... Yeah, I can't get what I want. See, everyone try... I'm a guy that likes actual, like, facts. I want bullet points with what the heck they did. Ooh, market reversing here. Market reversing. Let's see what our stocks do. Take-Two, Goose, Tilray. Let's look at Tilray. Let's look at Cron. Let's look at some of the MJ names. We got Cron. We got CGC. Still way lower. No, I think it's space. I don't think it's how many people they have, Eli. I don't think it's a Ford. I mean, maybe it is a Ford. Maybe it is, but I don't know why. It's just a funny sight. Just a little bit funny. MJ, which is the culmination of most of those. NVIDIA down 1%. Look at the big names. NVIDIA down a little bit here today. Netflix had a pretty good day yesterday. Pretty good week, actually. Netflix actually rocketed higher. Look at everyone taking huge positions in Netflix. I would probably view any down day Netflix as a possible buying opportunity. Look at that volume the past 2 days, man. That is unmistakable accumulation. That is unmistakable. Unless it's very good short covering. Usually short covering isn't that. I mean, that's 2 very good days in Netflix, but it doesn't look like short covering. Although there's no model for what short covering looks like, however. But it looks like one little sell candle here blew away our whole day so far. Could we have a nice little pause day here? So it looks like the NASDAQ over the 10-day, coming up to the 50-day. Maybe we'll see some resistance here at the 50-day. So again, after a follow-through day, and I keep going back to these follow-through day rules. So after a follow-through day, if you have distribution too close to the follow-through day, usually after the 4th or 5th day, you're okay to have a distribution day or two. But if it happens before then, the rally is in much more danger of failing. I gotta change my calendar alerts. I never do what they say. All right, hold on a second, guys. All right, I'm back. Family's leaving. Tell them to get out of here. All right, there's square. Okay, gotta highlight square. All right, so yeah, a little bit of pause here would be nice. Um, Remember we talked a while back about some sideways action. Maybe that's our sideways action in the Nasdaq. Maybe that's it right there. It's not a lot, but it's some. All right, so we got a little bit of sideways action here in the Nasdaq, and then a little bit of follow through. Um, we're hoping for some of that. That's what we're hoping for. So we haven't really had much of that since we had. So this was just kind of. I don't know if you can consider that sideways action or not. This barely qualifies as sideways action, mind you. This was none of this was sideways action. You had one pause. Um, this was barely. Yeah, this was upside action. So this was some kind of sideways action, and then some continuation. So that's good. We do have a little bit of change there. Higher volumes here. That's a sell. Well, that's a buying candle. We talked about that one. We talked about they've been picking at this thing the entire time. These markets don't usually correct, and when they do, institutions always pick. They always pick. That's their job. So when the rest of them start to buy as well, that's when you get the follow-through days. Ooh, you need some help? Here. Oh, the cat? Oh, okay. Did it fall? Oh, I see it. Here. You're welcome. So even if we don't have another rip-roaring rally today, as long as we kind of maintain some levels, that would be good. So here's the Nasdaq. Nasdaq did not have the follow-through day. The S&P 500 had the follow-through day. This is the SPY. So yeah, it's a fairly weak follow-through day, to be honest with you. So the SPY actually did not have elevated volume, but apparently, I think for the S&P 500 they use the Amex, American Stock Exchange, as the indicator for the S&P 500. And so the S&P 500 has this resistance line right here at the 260 level on my SPY chart. You can see there's a low there, a low there. It breaks the low, tests the low. Now we're going to test it again. If we get back through it, that would be a little bullish. If we can't even get to it, or today could be another topping day. Or not. We'll kind of have to wait and see how that goes. Today could be a topping day. Day 2 on a new rally, would put us in danger of failing that rally. So this follow through day had a distribution on day 4 and day 5. Okay, and then we went back into a correction on this day, I believe, once we undercut the low. And then we've been in a correction until here. So quite a bit of follow-through days in such a short period of time. I don't know if there's been a study done on that. I can't really remember specifically if there's a good, you would think there wouldn't be too many follow-through days, but so far there's been quite a few. We've had 3. I like Square's taking on the chin here a little bit. Not quite back into the wedge yet. We got VMW still in highs, which is nice. INS, where's INSG? Looks like it tumbled a little bit. Yeah, there we go. 3.85%. Yesterday's super high volume. Look at that. I didn't notice that. Super high volume at INSG yesterday. That probably put an end to that little leg of the move. It may even cause it to pause for a while. But good move there in INSG. Even right now, we're up 28% from the breakout point. One of the few breakouts that's actually worked in this market, INSG. Bless you, James. throat hurt? No. And why are you grabbing your throat? All right, so Netties pulling back in a little bit, as is the market, only up 0.65%. Actually selling off probably a little more than is warranted. Well, than people would want, I guess. So you see all my greens running away from the top. They were up here. Now they're down lower. Goose 1.6. That was up 3 or 4 earlier. Same with Square, VMware, Tesla down up 0.95, down from like 1.5, I think. So hopefully today could be a nice sideways day for the markets. We can remain greenish. I don't mind greenish today. We just got to see how it plays out. So this is the first, looks like one of the first tests of our brand new baby uptrend, which is exactly what it is. It's a brand new baby uptrend in what's been a pretty steep bear market. And if we take these trend lines here, we're up to about the point where we failed these other rallies, these other two larger rallies. We're at that point where these have stalled, which coincidentally is around the 50-day moving average. This one actually pierced the 50-day moving average on the death cross day. That's kind of funny. And then now we have a rally within striking distance of that 50-day moving average. So we'll have to see what happens up here. And that's all I gotta say. So like I said, still not too many stocks setting up. There's some healthier stocks than others, but very few are actually like setting up to rally. We could be do some chop from here on out. Let's say we're done going lower on let's say the China news and their stimulus structure works well enough, and maybe we get the trade talks done with here in a little bit, and the government shutdown ends. That'll probably be enough to sustain us maybe around stave off the lows, if you will. And depending how good either of those three circumstances go, we may be able to rip roar again, but we're at least due some chop for a while, I think, at a minimum. If the market doesn't come all the way back in, that's the risk here, obviously. The volume signatures here don't seem super impressive to me for a bottom, but to be honest with you, on indexes, that doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of how I typically view price action in an individual name. So I kind of, if you guys have some items in terms of the volume, something to say about that, I'd like to hear it, because my traditional metrics don't work horribly well in indexes, in terms of me like trying to assimilate accumulation and distribution, mainly because the indexes are comprised, like, you don't have a true way to look at the indexes. It's really difficult. You can't, like, the NQ this is a futures market, so they do trade the NASDAQ, but there's also issues with margin and market makers and things of that nature, people hedging, so it's never like a true indication. The high volume days are in a little bit strange spots. That is fairly normalized. I think high volume days you can take as normalized. That's a really good one right there. That one closed like above the open, as a matter of fact. This one right here, which one does that take into account? Okay, so that day also an accumulation day. And if you notice, this huge down day was on lower volume on the futures than the holiday, which volume should have looked like this, but it looked like that. So that could potentially be them buying that up. And then you have the rip roar day on also somewhat muted volume, January 26th, so the day after Christmas. Am I on the daily or the weekly? That's the day after Christmas? Why does that seem so strange to me? That's a great volume for the day after Christmas. I don't think I realized that. So that's a good volume day. That's a good volume day. Yeah, so we're looking better. We're looking better. We're looking better. Get rid of some of these lines. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Don't see any more questions rolling through. so I'm going to bail, and we'll see what happens with the market today. Ideally, we can rest up here for a little bit, have a few low volume days, maybe a low volume week, and rest it up, and so we can continue. And you can have a few individual names make some moves, and a few individual names fail, as tends to happen. Normal market stuff. I think that would be fantastic. So I'm going to get out of here, guys. Thanks for joining me today. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.